Well, hello there, Marvel fans! Welcome to another awesome ScreenRant video.
Drop your socks and grab your Crocs. We're about to get wet on this ride.
Can you believe we have less than 3 months to wait until Avengers Endgame hits theaters? That's right, the sequel to 2018's Avengers Infinity War is just around the corner. And we'll finally get to find out just how the heroes of the Marvel Cinematic Universe intend to undo the terrifying actions of the purple-skinned intergalactic tyrant Thanos. Fans have come up with so many theories about it that even the late Quicksilver would struggle to keep up with them. God rest his soul. But this one's definitely one of our favorites. It's the theory that there will be 3 or more Infinity Gauntlets in play in Avengers Endgame.
You didn't see that coming?
Without further ado, let's get into it. In Avengers Endgame, when Thor, Rocket, and Groot traveled to the dwarven realm of Nidavellir to forge and collect Stormbreaker, it was revealed that Thanos had previously traveled there off-screen, prior to the events of the movie, to have the King of the Dwarves, Peter Dinklage's Eitri, forge a gauntlet for him that was strong enough to house all 6 of the powerful Infinity Stones, before killing every other dwarf there and destroying Eitri's hands. The Mad Titan wore this golden Infinity Gauntlet on his left hand, inserting each of the stones one by one into their designated slots as soon as he acquired them, becoming godlike in the process.
There's only one God, man, and I'm pretty sure he doesn't dress like that.
The power, space, reality, soul, time, and mind stones were all obtained by the villain relatively quickly, as he took them with force from the planet Xandar, Loki, the Collector, the planet Vormir, Doctor Strange, and Vision, respectively. And he was soon able to use them to complete his near-lifelong mission of wiping out half of all life in the universe, with the intention of balancing it.
Perfectly balanced, as all things should be.
He did so by simply snapping his fingers, using the hand on which the gauntlet was worn to do so after Thor had unsuccessfully attempted to kill him with Stormbreaker. And sure enough, 50% of all living creatures across the cosmos began to fade to dust before our very eyes, much to Thanos' satisfaction. But the decimation, as the event is now known in the MCU, didn't come without a physical cost to its perpetrator, in addition to the emotional cost of having to sacrifice his beloved adopted daughter. Thanos was clearly harmed by his actions, the power of the Infinity Stones having taken its toll on his body. His left side was seemingly charred, and he appeared to be walking with a limp on the farm he subsequently retired to. And more pertinently, as far as this video is concerned, the gauntlet he'd had Eitri made for him was badly damaged, and quite possibly welded to his hand, given that he's clearly still wearing it in the trailer for Avengers Endgame. In fact, the Russo brothers have even stated that such was the level of power used to enact the decimation, the damage to Thanos and the gauntlet we've already seen could be permanent and irreversible. With that in mind, there's a theory that he'll have another gauntlet in the highly anticipated upcoming sequel to Infinity War. Not least because concept art for Avengers Endgame, as well as toy lines based on the movie, seem to show the Mad Titan wearing an undamaged gauntlet on his left hand. It may just be that an undamaged gauntlet is more aesthetically pleasing for marketing purposes, or it may just be that Marvel isn't wanting to spoil the fact that Thanos' gauntlet will remain charred in Avengers Endgame. But the likelihood is he'll actually be wearing a new one. If there's one thing we've learned over the years, is that you can never fully trust Marvel marketing. Of course, there is a chance that Thanos uses the power of the Infinity Stone to simply fix his damaged gauntlet. But given that he's already healed that gaping wound in his chest, you have to imagine he's undone as much of the damage caused to himself as he'll ever be able to do, especially given what we've already mentioned the Russos have said about his injuries. Thanos isn't stupid. In fact, if he's anything like the classic version of the character that we know so well from Marvel's comic books, he's actually a bona fide genius, and he must have a pretty astute mind to have climbed to the position of power he has in the MCU. So he's bound to have a contingency plan in place in the event that he needs to use the Infinity Stones once again. He must have known the universe wouldn't have taken the decimation lying down. He simply couldn't have believed he'd be allowed to get away with his destruction unopposed. So he simply must have ensured Eitri made him a backup gauntlet. If the first gauntlet he wore is welded to his left hand, this second gauntlet may be a right-handed version. Or he could simply use the power of the Infinity Stones to remove the welded gauntlet and put a fresh one on his left hand. Either way, we definitely think a second gauntlet will come into play courtesy of the Mad Titan. When the surviving heroes launch their fight back against the prune-chinned megalomaniac, you can bet your life you'll be ready for them. But where could other Infinity Gauntlets come into Avengers Endgame? The surviving heroes will be doing anything in their power to undo what Thanos did in Avengers Infinity War, having lost a number of friends and allies in the decimation. Peter Quill, Bucky Barnes, Sam Wilson, Wanda Maximoff, Peter Parker, Stephen Strange, Groot, and T'Challa were just some of those who faded into nothingness when the villain snapped his fingers. With that in mind, there's long been a theory that Tony Stark will forge a gauntlet of his own, so that the surviving heroes of the MCU can travel through time, plucking the Infinity Stones from key points in history to either prevent Thanos from collecting them for himself in the first place, or to bring an alternate version of the completed Infinity Gauntlet into the present in order to have an Infinity Gauntlet versus Infinity Gauntlet showdown, depending on how time travel works in the MCU. There are a couple of ways in which Stark could create a new gauntlet. The first being that, well, he's Tony Stark, so he could just create one in his laboratory at the Avengers headquarters using the same materials he uses to create his armors. But given that the heroes of the MCU are now allies of Wakanda, there's a huge amount of certain indestructible metal available to them that the genius billionaire playboy and philanthropist could definitely use. What better metal is there to contain the power of the Infinity Stones than vibranium? Once Stark returns to Earth from his current lost-in-space predicament, he'll undoubtedly be told about the events that occurred in Wakanda in Avengers Infinity War, and, of course, about the resources the fictional African nation has at their disposal, and he'll want to head there himself. He'll no doubt end up working alongside Shuri in Wakanda's laboratories, because that's something the fans have wanted to see for some time, and while he's there, why wouldn't he fashion a gauntlet out of vibranium? Especially if the hero's plan is indeed to collect the Infinity Stones in order to wield them against Thanos. We've seen some incredibly powerful things made from vibranium so far in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Captain America's shield, Black Panther's armor, Ultron's final form, and Vision, for example. So it makes sense that an item designed to save reality itself would be made from that material. Of course, if Stark and company are going to make one Infinity Gauntlet, there's every chance they might make multiple gauntlets. Because do you know what's better than 6 Infinity Stones? 12, 18, or 24 Infinity Stones? It really does depend on how time travel works in the MCU, but think about it. If multiple heroes are given one gauntlet per person, they could quite easily travel into alternate timelines and come back with a fully stocked gauntlet each. It sounds far-fetched, but hey, this is a comic book movie. Another very plausible place that an additional Infinity Gauntlet could come from in Avengers Endgame is Asgard. We first saw a gauntlet in Odin's trophy room way back in 2011, in the first Thor movie, but the mid-credit scene of 2015's Avengers Age of Ultron left us confused, as Thanos donned a gauntlet from a vault that clearly wasn't the one seen on Asgard. In 2017's Thor Ragnarok, however, Thor's half-sister Hela confirmed that the one Odin had on show was a fake. But a gauntlet's a gauntlet. It either is or isn't one. It can't be fake, so she was clearly only referring to the fake Infinity Stones within it. With that in mind, Thor will be very aware of the gauntlet that was owned by his father. And now that he's seen that the one Thanos was wearing when he executed the decimation was similar to it, he may point the heroes of the MCU in the direction of Asgard to get that other gauntlet to fill with Infinity Stones of their own. And yes, we know Asgard was destroyed by Surtur at the end of the aforementioned Thor Ragnarok, but hello, time travel! It would be quite satisfying to see the gauntlet we've believed in for 8 years finds a purpose, and for that Easter egg we caught a glimpse of in Odin's trophy room to actually mean something. Of course, that might not be necessary, and it could be as simple as the remaining heroes of the MCU heading back to Nidavellir to have each remake another gauntlet just for them. Given what Thanos did to all his fellow dwarves, you have to imagine Peter Dinklage's character would be prepared to help out our heroes, especially given what the Mad Titan went on to do on a cosmic scale with the gauntlet he forced him to forge. If the likes of Tony Stark, Steve Rogers, Bruce Banner, Natasha Romanoff, Clint Barton, and Rocket were to become bona fide allies of Eitri and the dwarves of Nidavellir going forward in the MCU, just imagine the kind of weapons we could see in the future of the franchise. On that note, There is actually an additional theory that the vessel used to house the Infinity Stones wielded by our heroes in Avengers Endgame might not be a gauntlet at all. Yes, that's right. Just bear with us on this one, guys. Just bear with us. There's been some awesome fan imagery circulating of Stark wearing Iron Man-esque armor with slots for each of the 6 stones. And it looks absolutely awesome. He could either make it himself or head to the aforementioned Nidavellir with Thor to have each remake some enchanted dwarven armor for him, which seems the most likely option, given that there's already proof that dwarven items can contain the Infinity Stones. It might end up looking similar to the Uru Iron Man armor from the comics, which Stark built himself using the Asgardian Destroyer armor as a template, before enhancing it with Asgardian magic and covering it in Asgardian Uru metal. That kind of thing would look amazing in live action. Alternatively, can you imagine how cool it would be to see Captain America wielding a shield full of Infinity Stones? Or Thor wielding a weapon full of Infinity Stones? Or Black Panther wearing an armor decorated with Infinity Stones? Or literally any hero wielding their classic items blinged up with the 6 most powerful items in existence. It would be incredible. Heck, there might even be an existing Infinity Gauntlet in the MCU that we don't even know about yet. Thanos can't be the only maniac who ever thought about combining them all for nefarious purposes, even if he was the only one to successfully do so. And we know the Red Skull's been set free from his cursed duties on Vormir. We're just saying. And hey, given what we know 6 Infinity Stones were capable of doing to reality in the MCU, imagine what multiple copies of them might do. Reality could be changed to the point that the X-Men, Deadpool, and Fantastic Four suddenly exist in the franchise. Wink, wink.
Oh, that is cool.
Regardless of how many Infinity Gauntlets we'll see in the movie, Avengers Endgame is sure to be an absolute riot, and we simply can't wait for it to be released. The 4th offering in the Avengers franchise hits theaters on April 26th in the United States, and a day earlier for you lucky guys in the United Kingdom. What do you think of this theory? Could there be multiple Infinity Gauntlets in play in this year's Avengers Endgame? Might we even see an Infinity Iron Man armor? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to ScreenRant for more great videos just like this one. Farewell, Midgardians!